I said, everybody in 3, 2, 1. All right, ladies and gentlemen, man, we are here for the first episode of Under the Influence. I know you've seen a lot of promo about it. I know you've heard a lot of things, but we're just excited to share a space that is for influencers by influencers. Today, we have our very first guest, Miss Chan Lo, and as she wait, how do you want to be introduced?
You gonna do my Instagram name?
How do you
Channing Beumer.
Do you just want Channing? Because I know you said you're not an influencer.
I'm really not.
Okay.
But, like, you just introduced Channing Beumer. That's
I always go with Chandler. That's what everybody knows. Anyway, all right. So we got Miss Channing Beumer, the illustrious, the audacious man. She's here on the couch with us today, so we're gonna do a little conversation about being an influencer. But the irony is, she told me like you're actually you don't consider yourself an influencer. Mm-hmm. So what is that about? Because you didn't tell me why.
Well, thank you for the awesome intro.
Yes.
First and foremost.
You're welcome.
I mean, in all honesty, I just feel like the term influencer is, for me personally, can be used for so many things. Like, I feel like my mama is an influencer in her Bible study group, low key. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no.
But for me, I feel like there's a significant difference between influencing and using your influence or using your network to build social capital.
Yeah, yeah.
And to build a business.
Yeah. Right?
And so, really, I kind of call myself like a social entrepreneur.
I like that. I like that a lot. I'm going to steal that, actually. I'm going to use that. Brand responsibly, Jaren, social entrepreneur.
Yeah.
That makes so much. And I think that makes a lot of sense because from the first time we really sat down and actually had a conversation, like, your mom was always on business, right?
Yeah.
And it's like influence is a byproduct. Like, you are doing your thing. You've done live events. You've done, things on social media with CNK Daily. Like, and so I think for you, it makes sense. So with you not being an influence, let's say not being an influencer, but being influential, do you feel like there is a need to specifically segment the difference between influencer and business, or like what is your launching pad?
In all honesty, I feel like that's up to the individual. You know what I mean? Like, if people consider themselves influencers, that's cool. I think for me personally, it always has been rooted in service and what I'm building and what we're building at CNK. Yes, social media is like a huge part of it, right? I'd be lying if I said it wasn't.
Right.
But that's not the root of our mission. The mission is really to build community and to operate in spaces where people who look like us have been traditionally marginalized, and ultimately serve in that space, and grow in that space and create new opportunities for other people in that space. Like, my goal is to create opportunity for the influencer. Right.
Okay. Yeah. I like that because it's basically you're the plug for lack of. And I hope I didn't age myself. I don't think anybody says that anymore. But you're that person who is the connector, right? And
I've always loved to connect.
Yeah.
I've always loved to tell stories, authentic, organic stories, and that's just where I find my joy. You know what I mean? It's never been something where it's like contrived or all about aesthetic or anything like that. It's always been, what type of stories can I tell and how can we make it meaningful?
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think I did a disservice to the people at home watching because I actually didn't let you, I tried to introduce her for herself. I didn't let you tell your story. So, like, you talked a little bit about the mission, but talk about you. Talk about CNK Daily, like what's going on. I feel like every time I sit down with you, it's like this big thing that's already in the move. Like, first it's Nike, then it's Reebok, then it's Storefront, all these things. I don't want to put all your business out there. So do your thing. let me back up, but you do you.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, I'm just a girl who loves to tell stories. Like, I found my passion and my purpose in community, and in starting authentic conversations. And really just trying to do more of that. I think for us, CNK has really become a community builder. It has become a connector. It has become a storyteller. And now we want to take it to the next level and really start conversations that matter, start conversations that actually push the needle.
Yeah.
But also provide space.
Yeah.
Right? I think in this space, in sneakers, we're double minority. Black and women,
right,
in a space that is traditionally men.
Right.
And I think for us, the goal is and will always be, how can we serve and in what capacity. And yes, social media is a huge part of that. You know what I mean? Like, there are tons of girls in our community who we've been able to utilize social media to kind of launch, not necessarily launch them because they launch themselves, but show love.
Right.
Like, from an organic and a real place. You know what I mean? It's not for cloud. It's not for, hey, look and see what we do. It's because we notice that this is missing here.
Right.
So what can we do to fill that gap and represent a space in our industry that's always overlooked, always marginalized, but always taken from?
Right. And I think the cool thing about that, so it's like you said, you're not the influencer, like, you are the platform, right?
Yeah.
Like, we have a space to engage. We have people who are checking for us, but then we are able to connect those who may not have that yet and help you along, or the people who do have it and put you in front of an audience that you might not be able to build from.
Yeah.
And so
or provide opportunity, right? Like, you know, just last year we had a few campaigns, you know, with a few different brands, and each and every time we hired girls in our community who we know would do an amazing job and need to be in front of these brands and need to be in front of these spaces.
Exactly.
And that's the goal.
Yeah, because I think one thing I've learned from me, so I don't particularly consider myself an influencer either.
Right.
However, I'm going to leverage that as much as I can for the following that I have to get that bag, right? And so I think about, for me, for someone with a platform like yours, being able to connect gets you there faster. You know, it's a lot more strategic and efficient than just trying to do it kind of on your own. So talk to me about, like, for people who may be looking to partner with you or partner with anyone, like, what is the mindset they should approach with, or like kind of what, even in growing yourself, like, what was your strategy?
I didn't have a strategy. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Oh,
like, in all honesty, I feel like we're all just trying to figure it
So
out.
you weren't on the follow movement or the, you know, hashtagging and
That's
engaging
too much,
in it.
bro.
Yeah,
like,
it's a lot.
I mean, hashtags cool, but it's our hashtags because we're trying to build our hashtags. That was my goal. Like, early on, you tried these things and all that stuff, but I realized very quickly that takes up so much time.
Right.
And when you have finite resources, you have to learn how to allocate accordingly, right? I couldn't run a company and stay on social media for 15 hours a day.
Right.
Right? So for me, it was all about intention, right? What is the goal? What are we trying to do? What type of story are we trying to tell? How do we want people to feel?
Yes.
How do we want this to resonate?
Yes.
And then go in that direction. A lot of it is throwing things against the wall and seeing if it sticks. I've failed so many times, but I've also learned so many times what doesn't work.
Yes.
And it never works to be inauthentic. It never works to copy anyone else. It never works to not be yourself.
Yes, I think you hit the nail on the head. As you were speaking, the word that came to mind was authenticity, right?
Yeah,
like, I think
but it's a buzzword now.
It is. A lot of them are authenticity, therapy, you know, people just throw it out there and make themselves feel good. But the reality is, like, when you are authentic, you become that trendsetter and you get there before everyone else, or you kind of pave the way for others.
Right. And sometimes that's not really your intention.
Right.
You know what I mean? Again, it goes back to intention. What are you doing this for?
What is your purpose?
What is your purpose? What's your why? What's your ethos? And that's what we live by. Our ethos is to serve, educate, and empower Black and brown women in the sneaker and streetwear space. If what we're doing doesn't go back to that, we don't need to do it.
That's real. Okay, I like this. I feel like every time we sit down and have a conversation, it's like literally every time.
But here's the thing. I will say this. You have to pivot. You have to be willing to pivot. That's the one thing I would tell anybody. Right? Am I getting ahead of myself in the question?
No, you're good, actually, and I love that you're driving here, because that actually brought me to another thought. In the new space of social media, reels are popular, right?
Absolutely.
That's the thing that people are doing now. So are y'all taking advantage of that? Like, I've even had some success. We recently did a reel with my girlfriend and I don't have a huge following on my personal page, but it reached 40,000 people.
Oh, wow.
Like, literally, and we argued before we put it up. Like, she was like, it's too wordy. No one's going to read it. No one's going to watch it. 40,000 people later, I can say, like, I told you so, right? And so it's like, did you capitalize off that market, or do you feel like when you say, you know, being able to pivot, Are you thinking more towards, the lane that your business is in, or is it sometimes your strategy in like what we're doing? And I imagine you actualize the team. I think actualize is the word. I imagine sometimes you put the team in place to make that happen for you. But
I mean, really, it's for us, right? Because nothing necessarily benefits me or I try to make sure nothing benefits me that isn't benefiting the group and the brand and the company. I think that's when you get into gray area, and that's why ultimately I'm not an influencer. I myself am not the brand. Right.
Channing is doing her thing.
Channing is literally on the back end fires and trying to figure out life. Right. That's what I'm doing. But I think pivoting is essential in so many capacities. Right. Yes, you mentioned Reels. And now we're definitely taking a look at our content and seeing, okay, how can we make this work for what we're doing and for our audience and stay within that why, right? How can we serve? How can we answer questions? How can we make sure that everyone from the novice to the seasoned girl who, collected East Bay catalogs just like me.
East Bay. Oh my God. I think you aged this on that one.
And I'm on I know what I'm talking about.
We never had time y'all into the East Bay catalog.
But the goal is to make sure that everyone from that novice to that East Bay girl feels seen and heard. Yeah. And feels like part of what we're trying to build. Yeah. Right? And so, yes, Reels are going to be a huge part of that because, again, you have to elevate with the technology.
Absolutely.
Right? And you have to make it. I'd be remiss if I didn't say, if no eyes are on it, what's the point?
Yeah.
So, ultimately, the goal is to make sure to do that. But also, what we found is sharing the things that we've been tagged in has been tremendous for us. But more so tremendous for building that community. I know so many girls who are like, thank you so much for posting my picture. Thank you so much for posting my video. I've met so many people through this. Right. And that is what matters. Connection.
Connector people. Right there. That's the tag. I'm going to put that underneath the video somewhere. No, but I think that is the motto and the mission. Like, making space for those who need it, right? And I think you've done an incredible job at that. I want to give you your kudos, give you flowers while I can. Because I always say, every time I see a shoe on her page, I go in those DMs and I'll be like, why are these not in men's? I'm literally constantly like, this is unfortunate for us as a people. Like, but y'all need y'all thing. I get it. So
listen, y'all have had 20 years of
right. It's my patriarchy.
But 9 times out of 10, it also comes in your size because they are
not in my size. Okay. But men somewhere could probably make it happen. Okay, so tell us this. You've given us a story and you've given us the why and the purpose. Now tell the people at home, how do they get connected with you if they want to be a part of the work, if they want to get to the platform and get the reposts and things. Just talk to the folks.
CNK Daily at CNK Daily on all social media platforms. If you want to reach out to me directly at Call Her Chanlo. Don't ask why the Chanlo.
I'm not gonna lie, I called you Chanlo for probably the first, I say, several years, and even now I feel a little uncomfortable saying Channing. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It's weird. It's weird. And now I think my thing there is CB, and people are like, hey CB, I'm like, you obviously don't know me. Yeah,
I went by Chris for 5 years, and nobody. Some people still what's good, Chris? I'm like, who is that man?
But no, Chanlo is cool. It is what it is. But reach out, DM. In all honesty, I'm really slow to check the DMs. On my personal.
She busy. She
but again, here's the thing. I think one thing that I do want to reiterate though is, as great of a tool as social media is, it's not life, and it shouldn't be the thing that your world revolves around.
It can so easily become that. Though.
Exactly, and so that's why I really try to make sure that I take my space and take myself away from it. Sometimes, but good luck to those of y'all who are on there for 24 hours.
Gotta catch a nap. Every now and then. We getting older. I understand.
Log off.
Thank y'all. We are going to log off. This has been the first episode of Under the Influence. Thank you, Miss Channing, for coming and hanging out with us with your winter white. She corrected me on the way in.
Winter white.
Do your thing. Hey, we in this thing. So we are out in 3, 2, 1, boom.